What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. Those of you who have been watching me for a while may remember that I'm not the biggest fan of graded games and Wata and VGA and all these other companies that you send your game into them, trust them to take care of it, seal it, and send it back to you for some exorbitant cost just to, increase the value of the sealed game. I don't really get it, but I do, too, understand that there is a market for it. As manipulated as it's been and well documented as many people have put it, especially Carl Jobst, there is still a market for this stuff. But with that all being said, what just transpired with Wata Games and them mixing up a customer's game that was sent into them makes me not trust them at all. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out SmashJT.com for the full article talking about this Wata switcheroo. Wata was sent a game by Reddit user Kazuya955, and they sent in an Italian copy of Pokemon Colosseum for GameCube. And they sent that to Wata to get it graded. And before I go any further, those of you that don't know how this works, you have to pay an exorbitant cost and ship your game to these grading companies for them to review it, look at it, take months sometimes with it, and then have it sent back to you to keep it sealed and on your shelf. A lot of people do this, and it's kind of like this practice that I will never for the life of me understand, but I get it for those hardcore collectors out there that just have to have it. There's a service for you, and this is it. But with that comes some pitfalls. This routine process turned into a puzzling mystery when the collector received their copy back and it wasn't what they sent in. And they showed this picture here, and honestly, I took a look at it and I was like, it looks pretty much the same until you really zoom in on the Peggy.info number 3 and you notice the ISFE is in a different location than the other one, and the sticker is not exactly in the same spot, and you wonder, what happened here? Did Wata screw it up? Did they move the sticker somehow? Or even worse, did they switch his game on him? On purpose? Well, not necessarily on purpose, but you would think that these companies adhere to some sort of system where there's no way, no how, any chance a game that gets sent into them could ever be mixed up with another game that got sent into them. But that's exactly what happened here. For many people, including myself, the grading system is sketch to begin with, designed to assess and verify the condition of collectible games, and it's a critical service for those hardcore collectors, many of whom view their collections as not just hobbies, but they see them as investments or cherished possessions that they just want to keep in the most pristine, ideal condition possible. The integrity to this system is foundational in its value. If you can't trust Wata with the game you sent in, then it all falls apart. This incident in question challenges that very integrity, leaving many people to question the reliability of game grading services. Upon receiving their graded game, they noticed several discrepancies between the copy they sent in and the one they received. Key identifying features such as the position of the Nintendo Red Strip seal, the unique SIAE seal, and the sticker that's specific to the Italian media, and markings on the back were different as well. Those differences, though very subtle, were significant enough to raise eyebrows and prompt the collector to reach out to the Reddit community for more help. Help that they located. This is some wild research that was found by Reddit user MKJesus, who said, "Have you checked your pre-grade photos to see which copy of the game they match? This would at least help you determine where the mix-up occurred. Edit. I checked for you using Wata's certification number lookup. The one they received is definitely your original copy. There is likely another graded copy floating around containing your game. Reach out to Wata about this. They may be able to assist you." Edit number 3. I found the game yours was switched with. It was in the same submission as yours. This should make it pretty easy to track down your game. Just have your middleman reach out to whoever received the game with this certification number. They are the same grade, so that will make things easy value-wise. I think it's also interesting to note quite a few games in that submission have had their certification numbers deactivated. Not sure what this means, but be wary. And on that link, they shared Wata's item details with the cert number, the state of it being sealed, system being GameCube, Italian the country being released, year 2004, box 9.8, seal A+, box assembled in Germany, Italian version. So it shows the actual game that was mixed up with the one that was sent back to this user, Yazuka955. And they said, well, I discovered something new with this comment, but there's some point that I have to make. One, the middleman I used sent only my copy of the game. The other of the batch has happened to be in there, I think. If you search for the serial that's actually written on my actual case, 005 Final, on Wata website, they show the picture of my original game. Number 3, the game with 011 as the final serial numbers is not the game that is in my case. By the way, you gave me some tools to refine my search. Thanks, man. I'll keep you posted. They go back and forth discussing what may have happened and transpired on how Wata mixed up this game with the other one. But at the end of the day, that's extremely concerning. I will say, in Wata's defense, at least the games got the same rating, 9.8, which is an extremely high rating. And if that's the case, it's not like anything nefarious was happening here. It's not like Wata took someone else's game or someone at the company of Wata switched out their Pokemon Coliseum with someone who got sent in, which was immediately something that my mind jumped to. What this looks like is just a simple mix-up behind the scenes at Wata, where a game was sent in by one person and the same game was sent in by another person, and when they went to review them, they somehow flip-flopped them on the serial numbers and sent them to the wrong people. Ultimately, it's not the biggest deal in the world because it's still a 9.8. It's not lowering the value of it. But I'd like the game that I sent in to be the game that I get back. As a collector myself, not to this extreme, but someone who has plenty of games, some of them hold a tangible, sentimental value to myself, where I can feel a connection to it, whether it was given to me by a past loved one or someone who gave it to me to commemorate a moment in my life. That game is important to me. It would be the same thing in a weird way as if I sent my wedding ring to be cleaned and it got mixed up with someone else's wedding ring that got cleaned, and then I got back a different wedding ring. That's not the ring that was put on my finger the day I got married. So I totally get the frustrations and concerns from collectors not getting their game back from Wata that they sent in, even if it's the same review score on it. This is the one thing that could never, ever, ever happen to a grading company like Wata or VGA or any of them. Like, don't mix up the game with someone else's game. That's literally the entire premise of your business, is to make sure the game that you get from the person is the same game you send back to them, just in some sort of shiny box to authenticate it for whatever reason. Again, like I started this video out, I don't necessarily agree with the practice on the surface, but I do understand why some collectors want it to artificially inflate the value of the game so they can sell it at a trade show, maybe, or because it's so valuable to them personally. It's something given to them by a loved one that is no longer here anymore, and they just want to keep it in the best condition possible because it means so much to them. Okay, I guess those fringe cases for certain things, but this is expanded into like the level of ridiculousness, and it's a whole business that's been created on the side because retro gaming has become a business inside of a business itself. And that is concerning in its own right. But then you hear stories of how now they're mixing up games from people. And it kind of starts to open the doorway up to something I never even thought of happening in the past, of what happens if you can't trust them? What happens if they have two games, or someone who works at Wata has a personal collection and they want to swap out a game that may have some issues with it that the game that gets sent in doesn't, but it's so minute, so minimal, that it's hard to notice, but they know because they live in this world. They know exactly what makes it valuable and what doesn't. A lettering being off, or the image not being printed perfectly, but they see it where the average layperson wouldn't. And then they swap it out, and then they can evaluate their own game, give it a higher value, and send the other one back to someone else. Like in this case with the Pokemon Coliseum, thankfully, there's a sticker on top of the Peggy sticker that shows like a different location that kind of tips you off right away. But what happens if it was like an old NES game or something that doesn't have a sticker on top of it to delineate the difference? That's where the concern comes in, and this kind of situation opens up an entire can of worms of concerns that I'm sure Wata would like to avoid, and all these grading companies never want anyone to ever talk about. But when I saw this, I couldn't ignore it. This is nuts. Looks like it's going to be solved amicably. I don't know if this guy's going to get his original game back or how it's going to work. But holy crap, I still can't believe this happened. The one thing you can't let happen at a grading company happened. It's so beyond words and unbelievable. Yet here we are talking about it. Anyways, I guess buyer beware and know what you are doing going into sending your game in. Make sure you take lots of pictures, understand exactly what your game looks like, and when you get your copy back, inspect it really good and compare it to those pictures to ensure that what you sent out is the same thing you got sent back. I'm going to leave it there. If you want more information or links, references, or resources, check out SmashJT.com. I will link this article in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.
Smash,